This is Sports Overdrive.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Overdrive on this May the 9th, 2014. Taylor Jones with you. We talked a lot about the NFL draft as well as college and high school baseball so far. And we want to thank Neil White, again, from GoGamecocks.com to share some light on the South Carolina Gamecock baseball program. Well, now we'll look at the Auburn Tigers. Auburn, they're currently 7th in the SEC West at 9-15 in the conference, 26-23 overall. They have a big weekend, a must-win weekend against Kentucky. And also next weekend, to wrap up the conference schedule, they will host LSU at Plainsman Park in Auburn. As for Auburn football, very big season last year. They were 12-2. And they fell to the Florida State Seminoles in the BCS title game. Auburn softball currently 11-13 in the SEC, 39-16 overall. A lot of things are going on at Auburn right now, so I figured I would call up our good friend Jason Caldwell from Inside the Auburn Tigers as well as Scout.com, and he sat down with me a couple of days ago as well to kind of talk about the state of the Auburn athletic program. A lot of big things are looking up for the guys over in Auburn, so we'll discuss that right now. It's Jason Caldwell from Inside the Auburn Tigers on Sports Overdrive. Joining us now on Sports Overdrive is Jason Caldwell from Inside the Auburn Tigers and Scout.com. We're going to talk a little bit about Auburn baseball today and also some of the new coaches that have been hired around Auburn the past couple of years. So we'll get started right now by talking about the big midweek win that Auburn received Tuesday against Bethune-Cookman behind the bat of Jordan Ebert. He had 4 RBI, the 9-1 win. Jordan, well, he really doesn't have a home run so far, but he's a solid early lineup hitter, hitting .363 with 65 hits. So how special of a player is Jordan Ebert in your mind?
Yeah, Jordan Ebert's a guy that has really come on and played very well, from the get-go at Auburn. Had a really solid freshman year, too, as well. He had a .303 last year as a freshman for the Tigers, and like I said, now he's up to .363. Just a couple points off the top batting average in the league this year. And, he's more of just a solid all-around player. Like I said, not a ton of power for him, just a couple extra base hits, but plays really good outfield and left field defensively. All-around really good player, and a guy that has, I think, really developed his game. He played second base last year for the Tigers, but now he's moved to left field and has done a really good job, and I think it's kind of a building block for this Auburn program heading into next season.
Another solid hitter in the lineup is Damick Tomshay. He has 5 long balls, 26 RBI, and 51 hits. So who are some of the other Tigers in the offensive standpoint who have been solid, such as Damick?
It's really been the veteran guys that have been the most consistent players for the Tigers this season. I mean, Ryan Tella, senior outfielder, hitting .325 at the moment. Also a guy that came in and did a little pitching Tuesday night from the left-handed side, the first time he's pitched at Auburn in his 3 years on the Plains, and he's a guy that might actually see some relief pitching, maybe face a left-hander here or there the rest of the season for the Tigers. But senior catcher Blake Austin has been pretty solid as well, been pretty consistent. So those are the veteran guys that have done a good job. Other than newcomers, probably Daniel Roberts probably been the most consistent of the hitters, hitting .263 at the moment. A little leadoff hitting has kind of moved a little bit all over the order, but he's been pretty consistent. And then Damon Hacker's kind of been an everyday player for the Tigers. Started every game this season, early on the season at second base and now at shortstop. And he's a guy that's going to improve once he gets a little bit stronger. But the one thing he's done is get on base. He has a .394 on base percentage, which is pretty good for him. And, those are some of the kind of the guys that have, offensively helped out. But it's been a struggle offensively for this team. Only 14 home runs, not much power. Batting average down to .272. So the offense has been, much of the concern, about the last month or so for the Tigers.
One of the top pitchers in the rotation is Keegan Thompson. He has a 1.91 ERA, also a 5-3 record in 2014 so far. So how impressed are you with the pitching rotation, and how important will pitching be for Auburn in order for them to make the SEC tournament?
Pitching is always important, especially nowadays. You look and, not a whole lot of runs scored for the most part. And so having Dylan Ortman on Friday night, Keegan Thompson on Saturday, it's been good for Auburn. I mean, those two guys have 13 of Auburn's 26 wins this season. The crazy thing is that both of them have put up solid start after solid start, and they've still lost 6 games. So that tells you the lack of offensive support they've got at times. But those two have been really good. But they'll need to be good this weekend. Auburn going to Kentucky, a team that actually does score some runs and can swing it offensively. So it's going to be a challenge for this Auburn pitching staff this weekend to try to hold down Kentucky enough to keep their offense in the game.
We'll talk now about some of the Auburn alumni or players who have played at Auburn for a short amount of time and what they've done in the major leagues so far. Just looking back at some of them that are currently playing now: Tim Hudson, David Ross, Josh Donaldson. There are a few others that are out there. So how are the current former Tigers performing thus far in the major leagues through the first month of the season, and how are players such as Hunter Morris performing in the minors?
So when you start looking at major league guys, and you start with Tim Hudson coming off his injury last year, making the move to San Francisco, and he's done a really good job, won 4 games in the month of April. Really strong start for him. And Tim's this guy that as he's gotten older, he's gotten better. It kind of reminds you a little bit of the Greg Maddux, and that he knows how to pitch. He's always known how to pitch, but he kind of continues to craft his style as a pitcher. Done a good job. Josh Donaldson's probably been maybe the bigger surprise of any Auburn guy going to the major leagues in a long time. Josh has turned into a very consistent performer for the Oakland A's at third base. Finished in the top 5 of the MVP voting last year in the American League, and off to another good start this year. I know that recently he had the longest streak in the major leagues at reached base in 27 straight games. Josh has done a good job, and just been proud to watch his growth as a player. He's a guy that got moved from third to catcher and kind of back, moved around a little bit in his Auburn career, and the same thing early on in his major league career, but he's done a good job of settling in at third base, and it has been big there. But you mentioned some of the other guys. Hunter Morris is AAA for the Brewers organization up in Nashville, playing for the Nashville Sounds, and so I think Hunter's got a chance, if he continues to develop, to be one of those next guys in the major leagues for the Tigers.
Coach John Pulowski, he was relieved of his duties last season, and a familiar face to the NCAA tournament, Coach Sonny Galloway, made his way to Auburn from the University of Oklahoma. And he, just like basically all the coaches that are at Auburn right now, they're kind of new to the Plains, and he personally believes that he can get Auburn back to the College World Series. So being around Coach Galloway and the team as much as you are, what kind of coach is Coach Galloway, and how are the players reacting to the semi-new staff?
Yeah, I think demanding is the key word there, and it's taking some getting used to. I think that's the big thing there. It's been an adjustment period for the players and coaches getting used to each other, but it's also been an adjustment period for Sonny Galloway as well. I mean, coming to the SEC for the first time, it's a little different world. I think it's taken him a year or so to kind of figure out things too. So I think it's been a struggle. There's no question about it, but I think that it's just a matter of getting everybody on the right page. That's continued throughout the year, and that'll be the goal heading into next season. This season's been disappointment. He thought this was a team that had a chance to challenge to get to the College World Series this year. Unless something drastically changes the last 2 weeks, that's not going to happen. And losing a lot of talent off this team, so it's going to be a challenge for Sonny Galloway moving forward to see how much improvement he's going to get.
We'll look ahead to the series this weekend as the Tigers travel to Kentucky, and we know it's a very cliche thing to hear this is a must-win series for any team this late into the season, but for Auburn's case, it literally is do or die. They're sitting neck and neck with Georgia right now, who they have a tough weekend ahead at Ole Miss. Kentucky's coming into the weekend at 10-14 in the SEC, and for Auburn, it could very easily be a winnable series. So what will be the key in Auburn picking up the series win at Kentucky, and who will some of the key players be?
If there's ever been a must-win situation, this is it. Auburn, 9 wins in the league. You got to think that to have any chance to make a postseason run as far as the NCAA tournament, at a minimum, you've got to get to 13 and 17, and then it'll probably take a run in the SEC tournament to do that. So you're talking about winning 4 out of these last 6, starting at Kentucky and then LSU at home to finish things out. So it's going to be a difficult task. There's no question about it. You got to start this weekend, and it's going to be up to Auburn's offense. They've got to score runs. Kentucky's going to score some runs up there. Short field, Auburn's got to take advantage and hit the balls out of the ballpark. Like I said, it's not something they've done much of, only with 14 home runs this year. A.J. Reed is Kentucky's Friday night starter and star hitter. He's got 20 home runs by himself. It's going to be a difficult scenario for Auburn to score enough runs to win this game. That's going to be the thing to watch. Auburn needs probably at least 5 runs a game. That's their goal coming in. They haven't reached that goal very much in SEC play the last couple of weeks, and they've got to get to that 5-run mark and then give themselves a chance to win.
We spoke earlier about Coach Sonny Galloway, but other new coaches on the Plains include Coach Gus Malzahn, Coach Clint Myers, Coach Terry Williams-Flournoy. She had just completed her second season as the Auburn women's basketball coach, and also Coach Bruce Pearl. But for Coach Gus Malzahn, for Coach Myers, expectations weren't really as high as they probably could have been. A lot of people, including Bo Jackson, said if Auburn just finishes 6-6 in football, I'll be happy. The expectations were a little higher for Coach Myers, but he's done a lot with the program so far. For Coach Malzahn, he's changed the culture a lot too. He's gotten Jordan-Hare Stadium packed out a lot now. A lot of big things are happening so far in Auburn. So the question that I have for you are, what are your thoughts on these two gentlemen, and your thoughts as well on what they've been able to accomplish?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. I mean, you go back to football, and it's hard to imagine a better first year as the head coach at Auburn than Gus Malzahn had. Getting them to a national championship game and coming within seconds of winning a national championship. But I think the building blocks are there for some really fun times for Auburn football moving forward. And Gus Malzahn, it's about bringing in staff, making people comfortable, and being the right fit, and a guy that understands how to utilize and maximize the talent he's been given. And I think you saw that last season, and I think that's going to be one of the things to watch moving forward for him, is how he adjusts and adapts to the players on his team. And so that's been a key there, and the same is true for Clint Myers on the softball. You're looking, you had not many expectations for a team that finished 7-17 last year in the Southeastern Conference, and you look, and the turnaround has been as dramatic as you could just about have other than football. This team's going to be headed to the NCAA tournament. A power team now. The team hit 32 home runs last year. After hitting a couple in the SEC tournament opener against South Carolina, up to 77 home runs this season, and getting production from a couple of freshmen, a couple of veterans, and really teaching them fundamentals. They're a team that doesn't make many mistakes. That's been one of the keys for their success this season, and that comes back to coaching. He's done a great job. He and his sons of coming in and establishing their program, their discipline, what they expect out of the softball program, and it's turned up pretty good so far.
And now we'll move on to Coach Bruce Pearl. He was hired a few months ago after a stint with ESPN covering college basketball. He, the former head coach of the University of Tennessee. He seems to be a great fit for Auburn so far, in my opinion. He's really promoted the program well in the past few months. He's still putting together a very solid staff, and he's also been seen supporting the other athletic programs and supporting the family lifestyle that Auburn students and fans are accustomed to. So what are your thoughts on the Coach Bruce Pearl hire, and who all has he hired for his staff so far, and what can Auburn fans expect to see from Coach Pearl?
The first thing is getting in the public. Getting Bruce Pearl on means instant notoriety and instant recognition for Auburn's basketball program. And I think you see that already with some of the early schedule changes. Tigers playing at Texas Tech on ESPN early in the season. A game against Colorado is going to be a ranked team out of the Pac-12. So get a couple of big non-conference games early in the year. It's going to be a team that people are going to be keeping an eye on. And a lot of that's because of Bruce Pearl, what he brings to the table. And that's huge for Auburn basketball. I mean, you need some notoriety. People need a reason to believe. And, he's won at some programs. Tennessee has had its share of basketball success, but, Tennessee's not a basketball powerhouse. And he took them and did some great things there. He's won everywhere he's been. And, I think because of that, it has Auburn fans and Auburn basketball fans really excited about, what's in store.
And really quick before we end the interview, what are your keys for Auburn baseball to make the SEC tournament?
And again, I think it comes down to offense. You got to go out and score some runs. This is college baseball is not an offensive game right now, but you look at Kentucky. Kentucky can score runs in bunches. You got to go up and score runs there. And then LSU is a pitching-based team that doesn't score a lot of runs. So if you can get the offense going a little bit, you got a chance to win a home series against LSU, because they haven't been as good on the road. So it all starts this weekend at Kentucky, scoring enough runs to win some games. You got to give yourself that opportunity.
This is Jason Caldwell from Inside the Auburn Tigers and Scout.com joining us on Sports Overdrive this Friday afternoon. Jason, we want to thank you again for taking time out of your day. I know you're a very busy guy. You're on about 5-6 different sports call-in shows throughout the state of Alabama, but we want to thank you again for taking time to spend time with us and enlighten us a little bit on Auburn baseball, as well as the new coaching hires and your thoughts on them as well, too. So anytime you want to be a part of the show, just give us a call. We'll put you on.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
And that was Jason Caldwell from Inside the Auburn Tigers talking to us about the Auburn baseball program, as well as his thoughts on Coach Bruce Pearl, Coach Gus Malzahn, Coach Clint Myers, and a lot of other things going on around the Auburn University athletic program. If you want to give Jason a follow on Twitter for up-to-the-minute Auburn updates. He's always posting about recruiting, baseball, and softball news. If you want to know about an injury that's happening and when that athlete could possibly be back, just give Jason Caldwell a follow on Twitter. That's at ITATJason, ITAT standing for Inside the Auburn Tigers, at ITATJason. Also, read his articles on Inside the Auburn Tigers and Scout.com as well. Jason Caldwell, Inside the Auburn Tigers, thank you again for joining us on Sports Overdrive. We'll be making our final turn coming up in just a few moments for On the Menu, our last segment of the day. This is Sports Overdrive.